29-1. Carolina fans have made it pretty well known that losing in the first round in the NCAA Tournament at North Carolina is unacceptable. The fact that it took him 30 times to do so in a setting that is as tough as it is to do this year in, year out is remarkable. Carolina loses for the first time ever as an 8 seed. They were 3-0 entering the 8-9 matchup, having made the round of 16 and the Final Four in 2 of the previous 3 times as an 8 seed. They have now lost, of course, with tonight's loss. And then Wisconsin to enter tonight's game 4-42 in Mackey Arena. Well, they improved to 5-42 all time in West Lafayette. This one of the biggest wins for Wisconsin.
Oh, they're on fire now
in recent memory. And so we'll get out on this.
Well, I did want to say something about the Roy Williams thing. I think that a lot of people are going to focus on the fact that this game was lost. The fact that he won the first 29 games that he played in the first round, like, you got to remember, this isn't a guy that went from being like a mid-major coach to taking over a major program at Kansas. This guy went from a moderately known assistant on Dean Smith's staff to taking over as the head coach at Kansas and did not lose in the first round at all when he was at Kansas. Came back to Carolina. It took him all the way until 2021, a season that has not been anywhere near normal, to lose a first-round game in the NCAA tournament. We need to appreciate how amazing that statistic is. Not the fact that, well, now his record is tarnished. But you know what? I shouldn't be shocked, because that's right. They're out from their hiding nest. The dumbass morons that are out there today that want to say, yep, this just verifies that Roy is losing it. Shut the hell up. I'm not doing that. And yes, I will roast your ass on social media.
So I got to mark this as an explicit podcast, because this took a sharp turn for the worse.
Yeah.
But
you know how I get about this situation, though, because they have come out of the woodworks again after they had nothing to say after the ACC tournament when it looked like this team was turning around. And he was getting them in the right direction. They lose a game to a Wisconsin team that just had a ridiculous night shooting the basketball. And now people want to say, well, you know what? Maybe old Roy just doesn't have it anymore. He seems to be losing touch. It's time for the old heads in college basketball to retire. Shut up.
You done?
Yeah,
okay.
That's it. I mean, I don't know if you want to jump in on it, but I mean, at this point, it's just this is every time that this happens now with Roy Williams. We go from being happy for him for passing Bob Knight to, I don't care that you passed Bob Knight. You lost in the first round, so clearly you're losing touch. How the hell do you go from one extreme to another? I just don't understand how you do that. Are you bipolar? Like, I'm not getting it.
I'll speak from a guy that, okay, my podcast is named after Roy Williams. I've read his autobiography north of 15 times. I have a bobblehead that hangs on my shelf that I talk to at certain times to make myself feel better about this team.
You're learning about some psychological issues here on the podcast as well.
My affection for Roy Williams runs very deep. But during this season, during last season, did I get frustrated with his coaching decisions? Yes. I didn't understand how tonight, when you're down 12, 15 points, your best shooter was on the bench. I didn't understand it, but there was a reason for it.
I think the reason was on the defensive end. I will say that with Kerwin.
And he's had some moments this year that, and I mean, I remember after the Georgia Tech game, I came on here and was pleading, I need you to coach more. I need you to do more. But I'm also the same guy that when he tied Dean Smith, and he passed Dean Smith, and then he got 900. I went and bought his T-shirt when he passed Bob Knight. The selfish Carolina fan in me had to smile inside because Carolina basketball is as much Roy Williams as it is Dean Smith, as it is Phil Ford, as it is Michael Jordan. And I put a tweet out today that got a lot of a run on Twitter where Kiera Luck, a writer for the Tar Heels Maven on Sports Illustrated, put his press conference up where this team lost to Texas A&M a few years ago, talking about how the court was a salvation, his kids were the salvation when we were getting out of the NCAA mess. Dean Smith may have created the Carolina family, and he did. And he created what Carolina basketball is today. Nobody on planet Earth loves it or lives it more than Roy Williams. And therefore, meaning Carolina basketball is better with him. We're not going to be better off without him. The University of North Carolina as a whole is better off with him than without him. There is not a greater ambassador for that university than that man. There never has been, and there never will be another man that can match his love and dedication for a town in that university. So, at some point, we have got to come to the realization that his career is winding down. And at some point, we're going to have another head coach. And you know what? Dean Smith always said we need to have an 8-20 season around here to appreciate what we do. And I hope Roy Williams says the same thing. I hope when he retires, that new head coach, by God, whoever it is, I hope we go 8-20. So these same Tar Heel fans that pledge their allegiance, that love Carolina, that are Tar Heel born, bred, and dead, can go on there and admit they were wrong, that they missed Roy Williams, because we've got it made.
And it's sad that you got to get to that point, but that's where they've kind of driven. Because I think that's kind of where I'm at too, where you almost want something like that to happen when the new coach takes over in his first season, just so you can say, see, you guys wanted to push him out. Can I want to say this as well. You can go on there and say as much as you want that he needs to be fired. They need to push him out the door and force him to retire. Roy Williams will leave when Roy Williams wants to leave. Nobody is going to push Roy Williams out of that program. It's not going to happen. Because if it does, then there are going to be a lot of people, not only fans, but a lot of people inside the family, former players, former coaches, that will be extremely angry with the Tar Heel athletic staff that is in place. That would be that would be just a massive disaster for Bubba Cunningham if that was the move. And I don't think Bubba's going to do that. I'm not suggesting that that's the road that he's going to go down. I don't think Bubba would do that. But that's where some fans seem like they're at this point. And I'm here to tell you, that ain't happening anytime soon. You can keep dreaming if you think that's going to happen.
And one last thing before we shut this thing down. And I'll preface this saying, I'm as re-energized for Carolina football as anyone is. I love Mac Brown, what he's done for the Tar Heels. I love what Sam Howell has done as a quarterback for Carolina. For every Tar Heel fan that tweeted out, can't wait for football season, keep that same energy if they lose to Virginia and Florida State again. Because I'm just about as sick and tired as that mindset as the Fire Roy Williams crowd. This is a basketball school, and it will always be a basketball school. The day that it is not a basketball-first school will be the day that the university will not just lose mind. It will lose a lot of its funding on the athletics department. So we'll just go ahead and get out saying this. The season's over. We'll have a season recap where we break down the season top to bottom. That'll come out sometime later next week. Just want to thank everyone that's been supportive of the podcast here. We've had a really great year number-wise. It's been a 3-year run for us, as we mentioned early on, that we've started back in the 2018-2019 season. And now we've got through 2020, 2021. This is episode 198. So we'll hit number 200 sometime soon. So we thank all you guys for the great support. I've got a pretty busy, hopefully fun-filled off-season of content coming for you guys that I'm already scratching my head and racking my brain about how can we still deliver while we've got roughly 5 or 6 months before next season gets underway. But we just want to thank you guys for all your support on the podcast front. Same thing with the website. Definitely. Get you over to the Heel Tough Blog website where you guys have done a fantastic job all year long as well, checking out all of the great basketball content we've had for you guys as we added 2 new writers this year. First with Mark Krings, and then we added Sarah Wiley in season. My recap of the Wisconsin game is up there right now. Go over there and check that out. I'll have a full season recap. And like with the podcast, we're going to have a lot of off-season great content for you guys as well. Football-wise, camp does get underway the beginning of next week. Anthony will be getting you ready for what's going to be a very important, very exciting spring camp for the Tar Heels with the spring game coming up in just a couple of weeks. And then on the baseball front as well, we'll have a article up recapping the team series with Boston College. So we'll still have you covered football, basketball, and baseball-wise on the HeelToughBlog.com. And lastly, as I mentioned, thanking you guys for your support. We do encourage you guys to rate, review, and ultimately subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on every major podcasting feed, most notably Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Podcasts. Give us a like. Review me as your host. Review Anthony as your host. Even if you don't like our cussing, you can comment about that or how much we love Roy Williams. Leave a comment. But we want you guys to subscribe. That way you get every episode in your podcast library. Well, with that, I do want to thank Anthony for staying up late to talk about another heartbreaking season-ending loss for the Tar Heels. We want to thank you guys for listening. And as always, go Tar Heels.